Good morning, welcome back. I'm George and this is the Baker Farm. Today we are going to get the new baby chickens. Well, they're not babies anymore. I think they're pushing 8 weeks into the coop. Well, actually into the chicken run. Now, a couple weeks ago, I finished expanding the run and made this enclosure within it to give me some area to move our baby chicks when it was time for them to go. They're still a little small for my comfort to move in with our mature chickens, especially with our rooster. He can get a little aggressive at times, so I want to give him a few more weeks to grow and get larger. So I'm gonna move him, try to move him in with the chickens probably about week 10 if I don't do it before. And that way, by being out here, one, they'll have more space, and two, they'll be able to get more familiar with each other through the chicken wire while there. So let's get going. So we have a run to put them in. So what are they gonna sleep in? They're gonna need a coop of some kind. And that's where I had to get creative. I have that 4x4 brooder I made, and I probably won't need it for a while again. However, I'm going to save it, but with the help of my wife, we figured out a way how we can turn it into a temporary coop. So the first step of that is I have some old scrap plywood laying around. I have this piece of 4x5-ish maybe, and then I've got a couple of smaller pieces, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one and I'll turn it into the floor, and then the other ones I'll join together and turn them into the roof. And I'll show you what I'll do after that. Now, one quick tip when you're cutting plywood out here like this by yourself, if I'm cutting more than just a sliver off the end, I would always have it bind. So what I do is I kind of make this, I don't know what you want to call it, a jig or something, lay a couple of boards out, it can be scrap boards, and then lay some others crosswise and lay the plywood on top of it. And then right where your cut is, you want to have a board on either side of the cut. Now if this was longer, I'd have another board supporting it as well so it wouldn't bind. This way it makes it super simple to make this cut without it binding. It goes very quickly, and it's rather safe as well. So let me take care of that and we'll go on to the next step. We've got the board cut now, and it's a perfect 4x4 that the brooder will sit right on top of. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to cover this with linoleum. That'll protect it for the birds and keep it from getting dirty, and I'm just going to staple it down and I'll be able to pull it back up later. The linoleum I had left over from the last chicken coop rebuild, and you can see a link to that at the end of this video or in the bottom description. I'll put it one of the two. So I'm gonna let you take a look at that and shoot a time lapse, and then we'll move on. This is what the base looks like set up. While it's not spacious, they still have a good bit more room than they had inside, and they're able to get outside and enjoy the elements and kind of get acclimated to it. And the next thing I'm going to do is build some vents to go on top of the existing brooder. I want to make sure they've got plenty of ventilation in there, because while they are only going to be there for 3 weeks, it will get a little warm in here. This is full shade, I'm under a tree, but I want to make sure they have ventilation if they choose to spend time in the coop or if they decide to spend time in the run. Here's what the top looks like completed. We've got the hardware cloth on each side to give it some nice ventilation. Got the top part, what will be the roof here, and then I'll put another board on the front here for the rest of the roof. If we look on the inside, I've got the wire anchored with these strips here on both sides. Those are actually pieces of 5/4 decking boards. We got 2x4s running on each side as well to give it some strength. What this will allow me to do is put this on top of the existing brooder and give them some more air ventilation as well as some more head space. So now on to build a door. That took me a little longer than I expected. So now it's the next day, but I've got the temporary coop all set up and ready to go. So I want to show you where we wound up. Good morning, Dorothy. All right, so this is what we've got here. We put the part I built on top of the existing brooder, and I put a little door. I had an extra piece of 2x4 plywood, 2 foot by 4 foot, and I cut a little door in it. And this will be temporary. They're only going to be in here probably about 3 weeks, so it doesn't need to be super sturdy. But the area they're in is pretty safe, so I'm not too concerned about that. And we'll go ahead and open up the top here. You see we've got their little roost bars in there, and they're already starting to have a lot of making it home. Now I will probably have to cover this gap up here when it rains. We'll see what happens. Now last night they did sleep underneath it. I'm hoping they don't do that tonight. We'll see if they get inside it today and this evening. And that is all it is. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great harvest, a great week. We'll hope to see you again soon.